You think they hurt you because they are cruel. But that is not the truth. They hurt you because you are predictable. Because you play fair in a game that was never fair. You bring empathy. They bring strategy. And every time you try to explain yourself, you hand them another weapon. Most people believe conflict is about emotions, misunderstandings, communication. But with toxic people, it is something else. It is not connection. It is extraction. Your attention, your reaction, your peace. These are the resources they harvest from you. You walk into battle with kindness. You offer patience, understanding, compromise. But they are not here to understand you. They are here to control the game. You brought flowers to a knife fight, and the blade is already at your throat. 500 years ago, Machiavelli wrote something terrifying. Not about morality, not about kindness, but about reality. He said something most people still refuse to accept. People are driven by two forces: fear and self-interest. If you ignore this truth, you will lose every game you don't even know you are playing. So the question is simple. Do you keep playing the role they assign to you? The polite one, the forgiving one, the one who explains? Or do you learn the rules of the real game? Because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. And once you understand power, you stop being prey. This is not about becoming cruel. It is not about becoming like them. It is about something far more dangerous. Awareness. Because the moment you see the strings, the moment you see who is pulling them, you are no longer the puppet. You become the one holding the knife that cuts the strings. Before you defeat them, you must understand what you are facing. You think you are dealing with a person. You are not. You are dealing with a pattern that feeds on your reactions, a pattern that survives on your emotions. A toxic person does not seek connection. They seek extraction. Your attention, your frustration, your anger, your self-doubt. Every reaction is energy. And to them, you are nothing more than a power source. Your biggest mistake is projection. You assume they think like you. You assume they feel like you. You assume they have limits like you. But the truth is darker. You are playing a game of empathy. They are playing a game of control. Every time you explain, you reveal your weaknesses. Every time you argue, you give them importance. Every time you react, you confirm their power. Because significance is their addiction. And nothing feels better to them than knowing one sentence can ruin your entire day. The moment you realize this, everything changes. You stop trying to fix them. You stop trying to save them. You stop trying to understand them. Because a snake does not bite out of confusion. It bites because that is what it is. This is the shift. You stop asking, how do I make them understand? And you start asking, what game are they playing? Because once you understand the game, you stop reacting. You start observing. And the observer always holds the real power. If something inside you just clicked, you already see the pattern. The game. The manipulation. And if you do write one word below, awake. Not for me, but as a signal to yourself that you will never play blind again. The first weapon they use against you is provocation. A small insult, a passive remark, a subtle jab wrapped in a smile, just enough to make you react. Because the moment you react emotionally, the game has already begun. A toxic person studies you. Quietly, patiently, they test your buttons. Anger, insecurity, loneliness, fear. Every reaction you give helps them map your psychology. So, the first skill you must learn is control. Not control over them, control over yourself. Because the moment you lose your temper, you give them exactly what they want. Energy, attention, significance. Modern psychology calls this the grey rock method. You become boring, emotionless, uninteresting, like a grey rock on the side of the road. No drama, no reaction, no energy to steal. Toxic people need friction. They push because they expect resistance. But when the wall disappears, they collapse into their own force. Your silence becomes a trap. Your calm becomes their confusion. Imagine this. Someone mocks you in front of others. They want a reaction. Defend yourself. Argue. Explain. But instead, you pause. 3 seconds. Then you say, "Interesting perspective." And you move on. You did not fight. You did not defend. You did something far more powerful. You denied them fuel. And to a manipulator, nothing is more painful than realizing they no longer control your emotions. Information is power. Not money. Not status. Information. And toxic people understand this instinctively. Every secret you share, every fear you confess, every frustration you reveal becomes leverage. To a healthy person, sharing builds connection. But to a manipulator, sharing builds weapons. They collect details, quietly, patiently, like a hunter studying tracks in the sand. Think of life like a poker table. You do not show your hand to someone who has been cheating all night. But modern culture tells you to overshare, post your feelings, broadcast your struggles, reveal your plans. And manipulators are watching. Your next weapon is ambiguity. Become difficult to read. When they ask, "How are you?" do not open your entire soul. Just say, "I'm good." Busy. You know how it is. When you become vague, control freaks panic. Because they cannot control what they cannot map. They need information. They need patterns. They need emotional signals. But when you become fog, their radar fails. While they talk, you observe. While they brag, you learn. While they reveal themselves, you remain silent. Power loves silence. And the one who speaks less usually understands more. Remember this. The more they know about you, the more power they have. So speak less. Reveal less. Explain less. Mystery is not weakness. Sometimes it is the strongest form of armor. There is a principle in martial arts. Do not resist force. Redirect it. If someone pushes you, you pull them. If they pull you, you step forward. The stronger their momentum, the harder they fall. Toxic people expect resistance. They prepare for it. They rehearse arguments. They collect evidence. They sharpen their accusations. They want you to fight, because a fight is their arena. So you do something unexpected. You agree, not with the accusation, but with their perception. You're acting strange. You answer calmly. I can see why you might think that. Agreement breaks the script. They expect denial. They expect anger. They expect defense. But when you agree, their aggression has nowhere to land. It collapses under its own weight. Your ego will hate this. It wants justice. It wants to prove you are right. But wisdom asks a different question. Is this fight worth your peace? Sometimes the lesser evil is letting them think they won. Let them keep the argument. Let them keep their illusion. You keep your sanity. And in the long run, sanity wins every war. Remember this. Not every battle must be won. Some battles are traps. And the strongest move is not victory. It is walking away without losing yourself. We have talked about silence. We have talked about ambiguity. Now we arrive at the most powerful weapon of all: absence. Because toxic people do not just want your reactions. They want access. They want your time, your attention, your availability. And the moment you are always there, you become predictable, cheap, accessible, like a door that is never locked. Scarcity changes everything. When access becomes limited, value rises. When you stop answering every call, every message, every demand, people suddenly notice your absence. Stop replying immediately. Stop showing up every time they snap their fingers. Delay, distance, silence. Not as punishment, but as boundaries. Watch what happens. They panic. Where have you been? Why are you ignoring me? Why are you different? Because the pattern is broken. And manipulators depend on patterns. When you reduce access, you become a ghost. Harder to reach, harder to predict, harder to control. And the less they can reach you, the less they can hurt you. Most people never learn this. They stay available. They stay predictable. They stay trapped. But if this idea is starting to shift how you see people, let it travel. Pass this insight forward. Because the more people understand these games, the less power toxic people have. Silence protects you. Distance protects you. But sometimes defense is not enough. Sometimes a toxic person pushes too far. They threaten your work, your reputation, your peace. And in that moment, you cannot be a ghost anymore. Machiavelli once said, there are two ways to fight: by law and by force. The first belongs to men. The second belongs to beasts. And when the first is not enough, you must understand the second. Most people fight toxic behavior in half measures. A sarcastic comment, a passive-aggressive reply, a quiet complaint. But half measures are dangerous. Because when you slightly hurt a manipulator, you do not stop them. You motivate them. If you are going to confront them, do not annoy them. Do not embarrass them slightly. End the conflict. Strategically, decisively. Because small wounds create revenge. But decisive consequences create silence. Toxic people hide behind politeness. They rely on ambiguity. A yoke, a subtle insult, a passive remark. They expect you to stay quiet, to stay polite, to stay uncomfortable. So you do something they fear. You bring light. You ask calmly, "Can you explain what you meant?" And suddenly the room goes silent. Because now the predator is standing in the spotlight. Manipulators hate clarity. They thrive in shadows. But when you force them to explain themselves, their mask slips. Their cruelty becomes visible. And suddenly the game is no longer in their control. Sometimes silence is enough. Sometimes distance is enough. But in certain battles you need something stronger. Not emotion, not anger. Evidence. Manipulators love verbal chaos. They twist words. They change stories. They rewrite history. In conversation, they are faster than you. But there is one place they cannot escape: the written record. So you change the battlefield. No more arguments. No more verbal fights. Everything moves to paper. Just to confirm, you said X. You asked for Y, and the deadline is Z. They will hate this. They will call you instead of writing. They will say, "Let's talk in person." Because lies survive in conversation. But lies die on paper. Documentation is power. Facts do not argue. Facts do not panic. Facts do not forget. When the moment comes, a stack of evidence is stronger than 1,000 words. And the most important rule: never threaten. Never say, "I'm going to report this." Just act. Send the email. File the report. Make the record. Because real power moves quietly until the moment it strikes. When they realize you are no longer playing a game of emotions, but a game of consequences, something changes. Their confidence fades. Their aggression weakens. Because the predator has finally met someone who knows the rules. There is another tactic toxic people love: reputation warfare. Not attacking you directly, but whispering behind your back. A comment here, a rumor there, just enough to bend the story about you. Because direct conflict is risky, but whispers are safe. They poison perception slowly, quietly, until one day you realize people are looking at you differently. Most people panic when this happens. They run around trying to explain themselves, trying to fix every rumor, trying to defend every accusation. But this is the worst move possible, because rumors multiply. The more you chase them, the bigger they grow. You try to correct one lie, and 3 more appear. It becomes a maze with no exit. The real counter is consistency. Calm behavior, clear actions, stable character, day after day, week after week. Because truth does not argue, it accumulates. Eventually, people notice something. Your behavior never changes. But the accuser keeps shifting stories. The mask slips, the narrative cracks, and slowly the crowd connects the dots. Reputation is not defended with arguments. It is defended with time, with composure, with consistency. And when the storm finally passes, the one who stayed calm is the one people believe. There is something most people never realize. Toxic people are not random. Their behavior is a pattern, a script, a predictable cycle. And once you see the pattern, the maze is no longer confusing. Most manipulators operate in 4 stages. First, they charm you. Friendly, interesting, helpful. They build trust. They study you. They collect information. Then comes the shift. Conflict, small disrespect, a criticism, a sudden mood change. You feel confused because the person who was kind yesterday is suddenly someone else. When you react, they change roles. Now they are the victim. You misunderstood them. You hurt their feelings. You are the aggressive one. And suddenly you are apologizing for something they started. Then the cycle resets. They charm you again. Things feel normal again. You tell yourself, maybe it was just a misunderstanding. But the pattern has already restarted. The moment you recognize the cycle, you gain a strange power. Because you stop asking, why are they acting like this? And you start asking, what stage of the cycle is this? And once you see the pattern, something changes. You stop reacting. You stop chasing. You stop explaining. Because you realize you were never in a relationship. You were trapped inside a loop. There is one final truth about toxic people. They crave power. Not money. Not success. Power. The ability to move your emotions, to control your reactions, to shape your decisions. Every time you react emotionally, they pull a string. Every time you argue, they pull another. Every explanation, every defense, every outburst tightens their control. But power over you has only one source: permission. Not legal permission, psychological permission. The permission you unknowingly give every time you engage. The moment you stop explaining, stop reacting, stop chasing their approval, something strange happens. The strings go slack. Because without reaction, the puppet master has nothing to pull. Manipulators do not lose power because you defeat them. They lose power because you stop playing. No reaction, no explanation, no emotional energy, and suddenly their control evaporates. Real power is not dominating people. Real power is self-control. The ability to keep your mind calm when someone tries to provoke chaos. And when you master this, toxic people stop being terrifying. They become predictable, almost boring. Because once you see how the strings work, the entire illusion falls apart. Most people spend their lives fighting the wrong war. They try to change toxic people, convince them, reason with them, hope they will understand. But toxic people do not operate on understanding. They operate on control, so they argue, manipulate, provoke, spread rumors, create chaos. Because chaos keeps you busy inside the game. But the strongest move was never winning the game. It was leaving it. When you stop reacting, their provocations lose power. When you stop explaining, their accusations lose fuel. When you stop chasing their approval, their control disappears. Because the real battle was never with them. It was within you. Your patience, your discipline, your emotional control. And once you master that, no manipulator can truly reach you. Toxic people are storms. Loud, chaotic, destructive. But storms do not last forever. And the man who stays calm outlives them all. So remember this. Do not become cruel. Do not become bitter. Become aware. Become calm. Become difficult to manipulate. Because the moment you stop feeding their games, their power simply fades away. If this journey opened your eyes, then stay close. There are more lessons ahead. More truths about power, about psychology, about the hidden games people play. Subscribe, turn on the bell, and don't miss the next lesson.